Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I mostly do 3D print time lapses, but I wanted to take some time here and show basically the process of how I put this together, because I've been getting a lot of traffic on Thingiverse and I just kind of want to go over a few things on this. So essentially what this is 3D printed hydroponics. If you guys haven't seen this before or familiar with my time lapse, basically I 3D printed these two towers and then put these together in a way that kind of made sense to me, and I kind of want to go through that since I didn't really do a build video. So follow me and I'll kind of just go into this and go from there. So I'm gonna do just a quick walk around just so you can kind of get an idea before we start diving into this, kind of what this looks like. And for the question that's going to come up, how long this has been growing, I started this in April, the end of April, and it's now the beginning of June. And this is basically what everything looks like after kind of making some changes to things and just the plants kind of flourishing. I know a few of these are kind of looking a little off, which we're trying to correct that issue, but this is basically just kind of a walk around of the whole system here. So let's start at the base here. What we have is a 40-gallon tub. I did get this from Tractor Supply a long time ago. It was left over from our wedding. We used it to store drinks, so nothing chemical-wise was in it, so it was easy to clean it up and use it. It is sitting on some wood, so that way that the water temperature when it does get cold in my climate doesn't freeze the plants and their roots. I did some research and that's not good if the water gets too cold. Then what we have is some cement board here. If you've never worked with cement board, basically what it is a very heavy and tough to work with material. You do need some diamond blade bits or blades in order to go through it. So essentially I had some hole saws that actually were able to cut through very easily, and then I had a diamond blade for my saw that I was able to cut this. And essentially I just chopped off a little bit here. My version 1 didn't work out too well. It was essentially where I rounded it to basically the top of this tub, and it wasn't sitting on the wood, so it was causing it to get a lot of moisture in it, and it was causing it to warp, and some other stuff was going on there. So essentially I fixed that in this version 2. Essentially the 4x4s kind of get it up off the water, give it some support so it's not gonna bow. And then there's some corrugated plastic under here that just kind of helps if there is any splashing water, it doesn't get the board wet. You can find this stuff in your home store, Home Depot, Lowe's, that kind of thing. Essentially this cement board is going to be something that you lay under tiles, so it can be in the building material section, and then this you can find in kind of the other areas of the store. So a few things in the base that we can't really get a good video of is things like the pump, the PVC, and the air stones. So I'm running a air stone system off of a pump. There's 2 stones inside of the bottom of there. Now that version 1 I was talking about earlier, basically what happened is the stones were splashing bubbles up and it was getting into the board on there. So I took a couple of, I don't know if you can see it real well, 2-gallon buckets from Lowe's, I believe those are from there, and I drilled a bunch of holes in there so they can still bubble, but in the top I did not cut any holes so that way it doesn't splash on the actual wood. It's just splashing inside the bucket, but it's still getting that aeration. So I wanted to take some time here to talk about the pump. So essentially what we have is there's a pump in there, and it's going to the PVC right there with the brass fitting. There's a short piece of rubber tubing. Then the PVC goes both directions. It's teed and then teed on both ends, or teed on this end, sorry, and then it comes out. And then basically the T goes up, and then I made a low point for anything debris wise to go down in the bottom, and it can come out here. I also use this for mixing up when I do my pH solutions. I put a little nutrient water in there and then add my pH up or down. and then that just kind of helps get it into the water instead of just dumping it right in there. So dual purpose on that. Then we got the PVC going all the way up, and then over. I had originally planned to put 4 towers up, but with how these plants are growing, kind of wish I would have just did 2 in the middle and kind of went from there. I might redo this in the future and do that, but essentially I can turn the pump volume up and down with the pump I have, and then these valves can be adjusted to evenly distribute the water through both towers. Coming back over here, I do have a aquarium chiller. This one I believe is a 40-gallon. These have to be sized properly to your water in order for it to work, and temperature. I do have my garage with an AC, so it doesn't need to be as big as I probably got it, but it's still good to do that just so you have the extra capacity if it is needed. Essentially that keeps the water. I have it set to I believe it's between 66 and 69, so it's, from what I read, was about the ideal temperature to keep your plant water just so it kind of basically flourishes. Okay, moving on to basically a few things that I've kind of designed here. I have some vine plants, cucumber, tomatoes, peas. So essentially I had some dowel sitting around and I designed kind of a little holder for them. Basically I 3D printed these after designing them, and they just screw to the base, and then I 3D printed some clips and they just kind of hold the plant right to the dowel, and they kind of just grow up themselves after a little bit here. You gotta support it every now and then, but you can kind of see where everything's kind of going here. Now I'm gonna just show this because I'll get some kind of question on it. Essentially, I kept running out of water, so I designed this. It's a multicolored float. I had to print a piece, mark it, adjust the water, that kind of stuff to get it right, but I don't have this online. If you're interested, let me know. This is dual purpose. It'll tell me when I need to add 5 gallons by the time I get to the red. That black piece there is also a funnel just to kind of help when I dump this in here for the pH solution, just so it's not as much of a mess. Moving on to the lights. So I have a couple set of lights. Currently, I purchased these ones off Amazon. What it is these lights can be chained together. They recommend no more than 4 together. I personally just do 2 together, feel safer about it. On these, I designed these essentially for what I'm doing. I have the cord power to the bottom, and then at the top, the power comes from there and then wraps around on a few of them to the other light, and then that way the other lights get power. These essentially work well for me until the plant's kind of overgrown a little bit here, and then you can see the mounts there. I had to come up with another solution. I was trying to design something but came across these. So essentially these just use PVC, and the designer didn't put what type of light they fit. They're actually for the T5 lights, and I'm running the T8s. Basically what happened is the top piece that clips the light wasn't the correct size, so I had actually a few more of these printed out. I chopped off in the slicer the top piece and then just stuck that right on there, and it's actually not even glued or anything, and these are super strong. So I'll leave a link to the description there for these. They can be moved around if I need to work on here, or move them back for the plants growing, that kind of thing. So at the beginning of this, it's kind of hard to see, I made some light rings, but we had planned for the plants to kind of grow up those, and then we were going to use them to secure the plants. Unfortunately, you can kind of see these got out of hand pretty quick, and we actually just trimmed this not too long ago for the basil and whatnot. We're going to come in here and clean this up a little more. Essentially, we've abandoned those. They kind of just get used a little bit here, but the dowels seem to be working really well. I'm going to try to do something like these light tripods so we can move them out a little bit further. Then moving to the top here, this is the strawberry support right here. Again, this is my first time. I don't know why the strawberry plants aren't really growing too big, and we actually thought they were not going to produce anything, and they're starting to flower. So originally this is just kind of here for them to kind of sit on. So at the top here, these are something that I designed here. Essentially what I have is the PVC just coming right in here at the top, and then this is not glued. So the purpose of that is if anything needs to be changed on these towers, this can be popped down and then this be taken off, removed, and then you can change the size of PVC and just pop one right back in there. So if I need to shorten the tower, make it taller, that was really useful when I was still printing this other second tower. I could have it on and then shut it off, add another module here, and then turn it back on. So that was very useful for doing that. If you need to take something out, it's really easy compared to doing like a standard tower. So this is a standard tower here. Basically the reason why that makes life so much easier is essentially they have a line that comes up and that shoots water up through here and then it comes down. Problem with that is essentially you have a tube that runs through all of your cavities here, and if you need to move something around, that makes it very difficult because you're gonna have to pull the tube out, rearrange things, try to fish the tube back through. I mean, it's not hard, but it's just annoying. With this setup, it's a lot easier. Now for my power, I do have a power strip. I've actually ran electrical in my garage for various other things, so this is actually on a separate circuit. I can monitor how much power that everything uses, but I just wanted to note for my lights, I'm just using a standard, I think it's a Zigbee or something, Wi-Fi plug, and then I just have it turn on and off within a certain time period. Runs the lights usually about 16 hours or so a day. Everything else is just plugged in, and then I have this running to an outlet strip down there for the rest of the lights to plug in there. Now I do have a humidity sensor in the garage as well. Shows temperature. Essentially I have a ventilation fan that I had for years ago. Essentially what it was for was a paint booth. I repurposed it so that way it will turn on and off with the humidity gets to a certain level, and basically that's going to pull a little bit of humidity out of here along with turning the AC down a little bit. I was getting some stagnant air, so I decided to put a box fan in here to kind of blow things around a little bit. This will just kind of help move the air through the garage over your hydro, and then it just kind of overall just builds strength in the plants, as well as essentially kind of just keeps the air moving and not stagnant, so things aren't growing that shouldn't be growing. Alright, so that kind of goes over everything that kind of went into the system. I tried to cover everything that I could remember. If there's anything that I didn't go over that you have a question on, please let me know in the comments. This system's worked really well. This is my first time doing hydroponics. My wife wanted a garden and I was like, cool, let's see what we can do. And I just have a 3D printer and I was like, let's do it. So this is our first attempt. I'm by no means an expert at all on this. I just kind of researched things here and there. I'm using the General Hydroponics Trio nutrients, and I'm also using the Cal Magic as I'm using RO water. I have an aquarium, so I have a DI RO system, and essentially I have it fill a 5-gallon bucket at a time, and then I mix it. And then if I need to do a full water swap, I will fill all my buckets so that way the system's not off for very long. But yeah, it works really well for me. As you can see, the results speak for themselves. I know there's some issues going on here, but overall it's in really good shape. So yeah, let me know what you think. You can check out the files of stuff that I made on printables, Thingiverse, and that's basically everything on the system, and thanks for watching.